Hello, this is Political Forum for Wednesday, October 10th. Today we welcome State Representative Justin Slaughter, who represents the 27th District, and thank you for appearing on Political Forum. I'm Carolyn Day, a board member here at CAN TV, and you are watching a live interactive program brought to you as a community service by CAN TV. Be sure to tell your friends they can also watch this show online at cantv.org/hotline. We welcome your questions and comments for the representative by calling us at 312-738-1060. During the next 25 minutes, we'll try to get in as many of your calls as possible on the air. Here's the contact information. 27th District Illinois State Representative Justin Slaughter, District Office, 1234 West 95th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60643. The telephone number is 773-445-9700. You may email justin@repslaughter.com. Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you, Carolyn, for having me on. I'm a big fan of the show, so excited to be here.
Thank you. So we have a few questions for you. We want to talk about your passion for criminal justice reform in Illinois. It says you were sponsored legislation signed by the governor to provide prison inmates with training to develop skills for computers, public speaking, and general business.
Right, and criminal justice and juvenile justice is a passion of mine. I really wanted to, with that piece of legislation, do something innovative. I think our communities are certainly interested in us addressing this mass incarceration problem. Illinois' recidivism rate is not great at all. I think it's at, currently 48%. And so what we did was actually produce and create one of the first of its kind entrepreneurship program for the Illinois Department of Corrections. And so this is a program that more than anything is empowering some of our inmates. There's going to be digital literacy classes taught, public speaking classes taught, leadership services and programs taught around this bill, and so we're really excited about it. I believe 10 other states in the country have something similar to this, but all in all, what we're wanting to do is, upon returning to society, we actually want to empower our returning citizens to be involved and immersed in something that is going to allow them to stay there and not recidivate. And so we're hoping that this will actually produce business owners, and because they understand some of the challenges in life, hopefully they will also employ other folks that may have maybe ex-offenders or have a background. So really excited about that.
Absolutely, thank you. You mentioned the need for access to affordable health coverage. What specifically are you doing to make this a reality as it relates to, I guess, mental health?
Right, and again, another challenge, the majority of my district is the Black community. And so when you talk about some of our medical and health challenges, African Americans have historically been disproportionately impacted by chronic illnesses. And so access to not just healthcare, but quality healthcare and quality healthcare services is extremely important. Whether you're talking about diabetes, certain cancers, high blood pressure, we've seen asthma a lot in our young ones, as well as some of the more contemporary challenges that we're looking at, like sickle cell, STDs amongst adolescents, child obesity, something that our Chicago's very own President Obama tried to get out in front of, and then the biggie that you just talked about, mental health services. Yes. And so because a lot of our communities are impacted adversely by trauma, by violence, mental health services have become extremely important, extremely vital, and what we're really doing, and I sit on the Healthcare and Healthcare Disparities Committee. I'm the vice chair. But what we're looking at doing is ensuring that folks can utilize Medicaid to get some of these mental health services. But what we also know is that a lot of funding was cut from our mental health facilities throughout the state. And so fighting for those dollars, making sure that we can fund mental health services in our community.
Yes. And so do you find that there's a common thread with the opioid epidemic in Chicago as well? I
do. And, one of the interesting things about the opioid epidemic is that I think initially a lot of the, if not all of the Black Caucus members, for example, we got a little angry because we are seeing the opioid epidemic treated differently than the crack epidemic. And, there's been a lot of attention, we've got a task force and, we're prioritizing funding for opioid. And that's great. I mean, I definitely am an advocate for addressing that challenge. But I did have to kind of say that about the opioid issue. But I think what we want to do is continue to look at some best practices with the opioid epidemic. I can't recall the name of the medication that's being used, but I'm currently embarking upon a partnership, for instance, with Advocate Christ Hospital in Oak Lawn, and they're doing a lot in regards to trying to roll out this medication that is going to address this challenge. But
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Again, you're watching Political Forum, and we have here today Illinois State Representative Justin from the 27th District, and we welcome your calls at 312-738-1060. So moving along here, we want to know if you're on record stating the need for more investment in our Southside communities, including good-paying jobs that lead to stable careers for people. You want to expand on?
Sure. I mean, it's no secret. Chicago is the tale of two cities. When you go downtown or in the South Loop or the West Loop or on the North Side, you see one beautiful Chicago. But when you're on the South Side or the West Side, it is a different story. It's been like that for quite some time. And so the need for investment is obviously something that we need to prioritize. But I think we need to be very strategic about it. Oftentimes folks from my community look towards the public sector and the private sector to create jobs for them. I think we need to empower our people more to be business owners themselves and to really concentrate on cooperative economics and put time and energy into creating economic opportunity for ourselves. I certainly think we need to focus on education. One of the issues I think with our education system is that folks are matriculating through grammar school, through high school, and even through college, but there's no job there at the end. And so we really do have to prioritize job opportunities so that we can keep folks interested, families and children interested in going to school. And then also what comes along with that is a robust, diverse curriculum that is training our communities for the future. And so it's something that obviously has been around for a long time. However, myself and others are looking at some creative ways innovative ways to push our folks into what we consider the future economy.
Yes. It looks like we have a caller here. Caller, are you there?
Yes, good evening. I have a question with the current rhetoric that's happening around the nation and even here locally, and really taking a look at politicians, the people that represent you and me. I want to know, get the representative's point of view about how can we build trust between the constituents and the representatives of the people, because sometimes who we elect to office we find out don't necessarily follow what we thought they would follow. So how can we better help that relationship, and what can politicians do to be more visible with the constituents and really answer, their questions?
Right. It's a great question. I think a lot of it is really basic communication, but also, with what I do as a state rep, I kind of it's kind of an opportunity area because a lot of folks, to be honest with you, still don't know, what a state rep does, what their state senator does. And so a lot of it in regards to quote unquote basic communication is building that trust through taking that, in my case, $39 billion budget and making folks aware of what our state programs and services and resources and initiatives are. We can start there. And so I think that it's important to pour a lot of energy into being able to connect folks to these services that their taxpayer dollars are paying for, just on the basic level. A lot of times our constituents don't hear from us, and so therefore they don't know what we're doing. And so I think the trust factor is more so about just staying connected and staying in communication. Secondly, and more importantly, I think it's about not the elected official. This is actually about the community. That was one of the great things about our brother, President Barack Obama. He made it not about him, but about you. So a lot of the trust, I believe, is about empowering folks to feel like they're a part of these solutions, a part of the answer, a part of the discussions to address their issues. Too often, elected officials maybe come off as though, they're the end all and say all for the community. And really, you're just there representing, quote unquote, no pun intended, I'm a state rep, but representing them in that regard. So empowering folks to be included, to understand that they have a voice in this whole process, I think builds trust.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for that caller. So, State Representative,
Right.
There are a lot of people here in Chicago that may not know you,
Right.
or know what you do,
Right.
or what's really on your plate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is
my time.
Yeah.
So first of all, just born and raised in Chicago on the far south side. I actually grew up in my district. And my district encompasses very strong voting wards. The 21st Ward, the 34th Ward, a small piece of the 9th Ward, and a sizable piece of the 19th Ward.
So what are the street boundaries?
Oh yeah, right. So right on the north, I start at 84th Street.
Okay.
And from 84th Street to 103rd Street,
Okay.
I go from State Street on the east all the way to Loomis on the west.
Mm-hmm.
Then from 103rd Street, I go all the way down to 125th Street. From Halsted as far west as the city limits go.
Okay.
And then what's fascinating about my district is that I also have some of the southwest suburbs. Crestwood, Palos Heights, Alsip. I go all the way actually to Orland. And so 85% of my district is in the far southwest side of the city, and then that other 25% is in the southwest suburbs. And some people do know my predecessor was State Representative Monique Davis.
Okay.
She held the seat for 30 years.
Long time, yeah.
And so the district is not necessarily turning over a new leaf as much as that we're entering into a new era. Representative Davis did so much for not just her district, but the state of Illinois within those 30 years.
Yeah.
And so really I want to honor the work that she's done by, pushing our district and pushing the state forward. But, I'm excited to do so.
Very well. I think we have a caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am. And I wanted to firstly thank you for taking my call. But I wanted to ask the representative about something that I guess has been concerning me for some time, and that is that our current governor is a billionaire, and his challenger in this election is also a billionaire. And I sometimes wonder what people with that much money want with a job that pays uh, several $100,000. And I just wonder if there's too much money in politics, or if he thinks from his perspective that all of this money is actually a good thing.
It's an excellent question, a question that is very relevant to our times, not just Illinois. We're kind of seeing this in other areas of the country as well. With that being said, it is a concern. I think it was a concern when our current governor became governor. It's also, I believe, a concern for the Democratic nominee as governor. But let me set the record straight. I am supporting him 100%. I think that there is a need to look at to a certain level, some regulation of how much money a candidate is putting forth in their campaigns, especially if you're a billionaire, and that's a billionaire with a B. But at the end of the day, when you talk about public policy, it's extremely important, especially with a diverse state like Illinois. You're talking about urban, suburban, and rural communities. Our governor needs to, it's imperative that our governor be able to relate to many different walks of life. And if you're a billionaire, are you able to do that? It's a very good question. And so as a legislator, it's important that we do hold our governor's feet to the fire. It's important that we put forth, not just introduce certain bills, but that we pass legislation that will allow all of the residents of Illinois to see that these governors do understand some of the challenges that many folks are faced with a daily basis that maybe they've never been confronted with because of their wealth status. And so it's extremely important. I know I'm going to be putting forth legislation that will ensure that the governor is going to show his ability to relate, based on the initiatives that we put forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that call. So let's talk a little bit about Illinois schools. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the need for greater support from the state to ensure a fair and just education for all students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this was vital. We in 2017 passed the education funding reform bill, which was great. Our system relied on property taxes, but we had I think the worst funded system, or one of the worst in the state of Illinois. And so I think we're definitely turning the ship around in regards to creating a different and robust funding mechanism for our schools. Again, I do believe that as we look at making our curriculums more relevant, we need to look at STEM education, science, technology, engineering, math, also the arts. I want to give a shout out to all those art teachers out there. And some people actually call it STEAM. I guess they put the A in there. But we need to look at prioritizing a future curriculum that will, equip and arm our kids with the right education as we move into the future. And so I think we've made strides with the funding formula change. Now it's up to us to sustain that sort of funding model for what we're doing. So, it's still yet to be determined, but I think we're heading in the right direction. In that
Wow,
regard.
it sounds like your plate is really full.
It is, and it should be. I mean, there's a lot to do, and it's a good time for us to step up to the plate and be aggressive about these challenges.
Okay. You're watching Political Forum, a community service of CAN TV, and I am Carolyn Day, a CAN TV board member. This is a live and interactive show. Please call 312-738-1060 if you have questions for State Representative Justin Slaughter, who represents the 27th District. And he may be reached at the office at 1234 West 95th Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60643, or 773-445-9700. So much to ask you in such a short time. You said that you want to make sure guns are kept off the streets in Illinois and that you do not fall into the wrong hands, including creating and more reporting requirements on stolen firearms and guns in stores, gun stores. So what's the latest on that?
Yeah, and there, I think what I can do and other elected officials do is be not just more vocal, but communicate with our communities a little bit better. We've actually introduced a sensible gun legislation package. There's been several bills that we've introduced that have to do with gun dealer licensing and our ability to track and monitor gun sales. We did something in the area of monitoring ammunition, providing age requirements for the purchase of firearms. We've looked at, I think banning body armor was another bill that we looked at. Also, we looked at banning bump stocks. This is kind of a device that makes a semi-automatic weapon. It turns it into a fully automatic weapon. We actually introduced all of these bills already, but a lot of people don't know about them, and so we need to do a better job of informing the public about it. For instance, these were all bills that were introduced before, for instance, the march on the Dan Ryan, for example. And so, did those folks really know that we were down in Springfield doing that? Just sitting on the Judicial Criminal Committee as well as the Restorative Justice Committee, all the major gun and criminal justice bills come before me in these committees, and it's important that we are able to get the same sort of passion that our communities were showing by marching on the Dan Ryan down to Springfield, so we can help us pass and support and advocate for some of the legislation that is that's already out there. But the proliferation of guns has been absolutely ridiculous, and especially in the city of Chicago and in the south suburbs. And so, we're going to do all that we can at the state level to address that. It's also a very major federal issue as well, and so we're calling on our brothers and sisters at the federal level to really kind of put forth some initiatives as well. But we're going to do all that we can in regards to gun legislation at the state level and continue to try to pass that bill package that I talked about. I think we passed gun dealer licensing, but all those other initiatives I talked about are still pending in the legislature.
So we only just have a few minutes left in tonight's show. Are there any final comments that you'd like to make?
Oh, final comments? No, I think that we are in a pivotal time. We may see Illinois may have a new governor. Chicago may have a new mayor. Cook County may have a new board president. These are very interesting, exciting times, and it's important that we seize the opportunity to, again, empower. I want to use that word. A lot of folks don't believe that, government can and will work for them. And I think the key to that is, again, having them involved in a lot of what's going on, with our policies and having that dialogue. And so there isn't any facet or any aspect of public policy that we shouldn't be being players in. And so, just excited to address the challenge.
Yes. Well, we very much thank you for appearing on Political Forum tonight. And we
Thanks for
thank our
having me.
viewers and callers that called in tonight. And our telephone technician has been Sylvia. Political Forum is brought to you every Wednesday here at 7 p.m. on CanTV 21 and cantv.org/. Thank you and good night.